Good morning, everybody. I hope you have your coffee. You are ready to go. My coffee mug says, "Get it, girl." So that's what we're going to do this morning. I hope you've had a wonderful morning and you are ready to get going. Surely you had an opportunity to check out our vendors and sponsors. Remember, you can do that at my website as well as on this group. I know they've been posting lots of information and their links and that sort of thing, but you can also go to www.cricketcrockett.com. That's cricket with one T. And here, I'll put it up for you. There you go. It's Cricket with one T, Crockett with two. And if you go to the events page and scroll down, you can see all the bios of our wonderful speakers and coaches, and then keep scrolling a little bit more and you will see all of our sponsors and vendors. There's also a little button there where you can hit to shop or learn more about their services. Most of them are product-based and they are here to market their business and show off the wonderful things that they have. We had 3 winners last night and we're going to have some more today. So I'm a one-woman show today, so I may have to do the winners after the fact. Maybe this afternoon at the 1:00 session, I'll announce the winners from this morning. But what we're going to do is get all of our winners and then sort of at the end, put them in a hat, or we'll probably use a spinner actually, and we'll see who wins what. It's going to be amazing. So here at the end of today's session, I'm going to show you a little clip of all the prizes that you possibly have won. So congratulations to the 3 that we had last night. Now, this morning and every session thereafter, our goal is to keep it as short, sweet, and simple as possible. So I better get started because I have an amazing amount of information to share with you. I know that relationships can be tricky, right? I get it. I'm human, so I totally understand. We get hurt, we get wounded, we carry baggage, and so do other people, right? So sometimes those things enter into relationships and we end up feeling rejected or misunderstood or whatever. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about building a healthy community filled with healthy relationships. You know, we all need those sort of ride or die girlfriends in our life, right? But not everybody has earned that spot. And sometimes if you're, a people pleaser or for whatever reason, you really seek people a lot. Sometimes we have to kick people out of our tribe, as horrible as it sounds. And that's called boundaries, right? And it doesn't mean we're going to be rude. It doesn't mean we're going to, literally kick anybody out or break up with them. But boundaries are, I want you to think of them as like a gate, right? And this is the gate and it's here am I. And if you want to get to me, here's the entrance, right? Not here. So, if you think about boundaries that way. So we're going to go more into that here this morning. So I hope that you have downloaded the PDF that was uploaded. I did that last night, so it's here on the group. So you can download that. It's my part of the workbook is pretty short, sweet, and simple. But we wanted to do that so that you're actively listening, right? Remember back in your college and high school days where they always told you to take notes? Well, I'm saying take notes. And the reason for that is there is a shift in the knowledge that is retained when we make it tangible. It's a little bit different just to sit there, and that's fantastic if you're an audible learner. But taking notes is just another way to get it in there. Now, there's going to be no pop quiz. You don't have to show me your homework later. So if you choose not to take notes, that's completely up to you. But I want to encourage that so that you can get this life-changing information that me and the other coaches and speakers have to share with you today and tomorrow. So once this session is finished, we'll be done until 1:00. So no, you're not going to be sitting in front of the computer for the next 2 days. So It is 9:06 now, so I'm going to get rolling so we can get done here in an amount of time that's comfortable for everybody so that you can get on with your day and do the things you need to do, and like maybe fix that second cup of coffee or the laundry or get back to work, whatever the case may be. And then you can be ready to come back at the 1 o'clock hour. And then, of course, this evening at 7:30 with our comedian, the fabulous Miss Thelma Lou. Now, I realized last night that it was a little bit difficult to understand her, not only because of the mask, but there was some sort of glitchy issue with it. So we got that resolved last night. So she's going to be coming in crystal clear tonight. And she wants to share all the funny anecdotes that Miss Thelma Lou goes through. So please make sure you come back tonight as well as this afternoon. After Thelma Lou, also, we will have another coach. And again, that speaker will only speak for about roughly 30 to 40 minutes. So, all right, let's get rolling. Got your notebook ready? You got everything going? All right, so let's talk about building a healthy community. So obviously the theme, the words are hard this morning. Hold on, words are hard. Much better. I can feel the caffeine rushing to my brain right now. So let's talk about this conference for a minute. The whole theme is You Grow Girl. And so we wanted to come up with some fun titles for you. And so my title is Planting Healthy Roots. And so, somebody said to me, one of the other coaches, like, well, you don't really plant roots, you plant seeds. Well, if you've ever moved, and we have moved a time or two for sure in my marriage, you do put down roots, right? Or at least that's the goal, so that you can create that community. I have moved more times than I can count since I've been married to my husband of almost 25 years. And I am here to tell you that I can tell you a thing or two about this. I've done it well in some places and not so well in others. So I feel like between this, my training, and the research that I've done, I can speak to you from a place of experience and knowledge. So let's talk about building a community. Let's talk about building healthy relationships. Let's talk about recognizing what I like to call the energy vampires, or the life suckers, or the toxic people, and how to create boundaries with all of those, right? Because we talk a lot of times about boundaries with just like the energy suckers, right? The vampires of our lives. But we also need to set boundaries for ourselves and other places, like saying no. We don't have to say yes to everything, right? Newsflash, we don't have to say yes to everything. And we also need to set boundaries with healthy people, because that's what keeps that relationship healthy. So let's go ahead and get started here. So we're first going to kick off and talk about reasons for community. Now, I know that may seem pretty obvious to some of you, but not so much to everybody. So let me ask you a question. If social media were to disappear, wouldn't that be great? Although we wouldn't be here this morning. But if we were to wake up tomorrow morning and social media was gone, how well would you be connected to other people? Remember, I want to see that you are chatting, that you're putting comments in, because that's how I'm finding my prize winners. That also lets me know that you're there, you're listening, you're thinking, you're participating. So what would that look like? I mean, so many of us have, hundreds of thousands of friends on Facebook, but are they really friends? Are they really the people that would be there for you? Or is it your great aunt that just wants to see baby pictures? Now, I'm not dogging social media at all, because we don't have to be besties with everybody we're friends with. But how many of you get a notification, maybe it's a birthday notification, and you're like, who the heck is this person? Facebook sends you this little notification and says it's, whatever. It's Marcy Smith's birthday. And you're like, who? Am I friends with that person? Or, you see those people who do vague posts that are really toxic and yucky and whatever. Is that your friend? These are just things to think about, right? And how great would it be to just whittle that down? If Facebook were to disappear tomorrow, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, TikTok, all of them, whatever, gone. Who could you reach out to? Who could you be connected to? And how deep would that relationship be? The truth of the matter is we need people. I believe we're created for relationship. We need people. It doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert. That doesn't matter. We all need people. Now, to what degree do you need people? That's a different story. How much time can you spend before the energy drains from your body? That's different. But community gives us a sense of belonging. It gives us a sense of unity. And we all know that social media doesn't do that, right? Election 2020. It makes us feel community, a healthy community makes us feel like we're a part of something bigger. I want to share with you some lyrics to a song by Paul Simon. And it's ironic. The lyrics are ironic, right? And you'll see why. Let me read these off to you. The song is called I Am a Rock. And a couple of the lyrics say this: I've built walls, a fortress deep and mighty, that none may penetrate. I have no need of friendship. Friendship causes pain. It's laughter, and it's loving that I disdain. I am a rock. I am an island. Don't talk of love. I have my books. Well, I've heard the word before. It's sleeping in my memory, and my poetry will protect me. I am shielded in my armor, hiding in my room, safe within my womb. I touch no one, and no one touches me. I am a rock. I am an island, and a rock feels no pain, and an island never cries. How sad is that? So now you can see the irony in it. He's basically saying, I don't need these things. He's trying to convince himself, because really this song is about his hope or desire, his defense mechanisms to avoid pain and brokenheartedness. He doesn't want to be hurt again. So he refuses to make friends. He refuses to fall in love, and he's staying in his womb, right? How many times have we done that? And I understand that. I get it, right? We want to protect ourselves. It's not fun. But I would argue that the growth in you and the growth in the best of the relationships that you may be a part of happens in the valleys and not the mountaintops. So if you have a healthy community and some healthy friendships, it's when you're hurting. It's when you're heartbroken. That's when the strength really shows up in your community. Now, I've been there before where I didn't build a community. I couldn't, to be honest with you. I didn't have time. We have a son that has got multiple diagnoses, but in addition to that is very challenging. And we had just moved to a new town when things erupted with him in a certain way. And so I felt like I could not build a community. Like I was doing all I could. A mom with a business, a mom with 2 children, a mom married, and then I had a child with diagnoses. But on top of that, it was a very, very traumatic time where, basically hormones got involved and it was not good. And I couldn't build community. And I was so lonely because I needed a community, but I just, quite frankly, did not have the energy to do it. It just happened to be that circumstances worked out that right when I needed a community, we had moved. So I didn't have one. Now I'm so thankful for the community I had, across the state line or across the country, because that meant everything to me during that period of my life. But I didn't have somebody to say, hey, are you okay? Let me bring you some Chick-fil-A. Or let's go out for a walk. I didn't have that. I didn't have people right there. So I know how lonely it can be when you're hurting and brokenhearted. And I understand how you might want to set those walls and say, I don't ever want to feel this again. But that's unrealistic, right? Because life happens. The other reason why we need community is quite frankly, it's good for our health, right? Social isolation and loneliness are linked to a variety of health issues, such as high blood pressure, substance abuse, heart disease, and even cancer. Another reason for community is emotional support, and they help you to beat stress. Really, I was just sharing about that, right? Community can also build your confidence and teach you conflict resolution. If you don't deal with people, then you don't know how to deal with people, right? You won't learn, hey, I'm good at this. Like, all right. And you won't learn how to deal with the problems that may crop up. Community helps with that. It also will help to push you in healthy ways. It can provide positive influence. If you make friends with people who are generous with their time and they help others, they're family oriented, you are more likely to develop these values yourself just by being around people like that. It's also about collective wisdom, right? Collaboration, sharing ideas. I know you know this, but I'll let you in on a secret. You don't know everything, right? But somebody in your community may know something that you're seeking to figure out, to learn more about. It also gives you accountability. When working alone, it's often too easy to give up when things get hard, right? Think about starting a new exercise regime. It's always better when you can do it with a friend, right? That accountability. By surrounding yourself with others working toward a similar goal or objective, you'll get motivated. You'll have that support. You'll have that friendly competition. Community also reveals your gifts and talents. It opens your eyes to the needs of others. And it meets our need, our core need for love. There's no denying that we as women crave love. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you're craving healthy love. What's true love? We were made to by a relational God who longs for us to be in relationship with him. But even more amazing is that God gives us the gift of each other as a way to meet our earthly needs for love. This brotherly, or in our case, sisterly love that we're given is a beautiful representation of the greatest friend who laid down his life for us. We're also called to love each other in this beautiful way. So let's talk now for why. Why do we need healthy relationships? I mean, this may seem obvious, but it's quite frankly not as obvious as you would think. Let me share with you a few reasons why. Well, I just mentioned one. We're created for relationship. Ephesians 4:32 says, be kind to each other, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, just as God, through Christ, has forgiven you. Also, Genesis 2:18 through 25, it says, then the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. Right? We're not meant to be alone. The relationships we form with each other are vital to our mental and emotional well-being and really our survival. We have an inherent desire to be close to people, to be connected, to build relationships. Remember that movie Castaway with Tom Hanks, and he gets stuck out on an island, right? And who does he become friends with on that island? A volleyball, right? I think he named him. I can't remember the name at the moment, but he actually created a friend in a volleyball, and that became his friend. We need companionship. Healthy relationships, whether they're romantic, friendship, family relationships, they all count. They can help to make a healthier overall life, as long as they're healthy, as long as there's an equal give and take, and as long as they give just as much as they take. But people in healthy relationships listen to each other, right? And that's so crucial. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves that it is more important to listen than to talk. And if you're a talker, that can be difficult. So let's talk about healthy versus unhealthy. People in healthy relationships listen to each other. They communicate openly without judgment. They trust and respect each other. They consistently make time for each other. They remember details about each other's lives. They engage in healthy activities together. Now, that doesn't mean that your friend group needs to be that, all of those things, all of the time. Because quite honestly, they were not created to fill the void in your life. That's not what community or friendships are about. But people in healthy relationships have those traits. So what makes a healthy relationship? What does a good relationship need? Well, it will vary from person to person, but most people would probably agree that respect, companionship, mutual support, safe expression, and if we're referring to an adult relationship like a marriage, I would add economic security, healthy passion, and perhaps, having those conversations like about child rearing, fighting fair, right? Having good communication. So let's dive a little bit more into these. So to understand truly a healthy relationship, let's talk a little bit about an unhealthy relationship. These are marked by characteristics like disrespect, control. It's really important for us to recognize these signs so that we can stop them with boundaries before they escalate. So signs of an unhealthy relationship would be control, intimidation, hostility, dishonesty, disrespect, dependence, the person who feels like I can't live without this person, right? Physical violence, sexual violence. Healthy relationships are mutual respect, trust, honesty, compromise, individuality, good communication, or at least a desire for good communication, right? We all blow it sometimes, but when there's forgiveness, when there's grace, and there's good communication, we can circle back around. Anger control, fighting fair, problem solving, understanding, self-confidence, being a role model, and having a healthy sexual relationship. If you're in a marriage, you need to be comfortable with that person. You need to be able to express if you're feeling pressured or forced or you're not okay. So with people that are unhealthy, we call them, or at least for the sake of this, I'm calling them toxic. So let's talk about those energy vampires or those toxic people that suck the life out of you and you can never do anything right. So the first thing I want to share with you, I want to define this word for you, gaslighting. Gaslighting is a term that's really blown up lately. And so many people are like, I hear that all the time. What is it? So I literally looked it up for you so I would not get it wrong. It is a form of psychological abuse. And yes, ladies, it is abuse. It's where a person or a group makes someone question their sanity, their perception of reality, or their memories. That never happened. What are you talking about? You're so sensitive. People experiencing gaslighting often feel confused, anxious, and unable to trust themselves. Not the other person, but themselves. Because that other person, that narcissist in their life that's gaslighting them, makes them feel they're so good. They're so cunning, like a cunning fox, right? They're so good with their double-pronged, sharp tongue that it actually makes you feel like, am I making that up? I mean, I thought that's what happened. Other toxic behaviors: cheating, entitlement, competitive. Put some in the chat. What are some other toxic behaviors that you're aware of? Grudge holding, victimness. That's huge. When somebody just lives in the world of victimness, right, and they're a martyr. Taking everything personal. Now, okay, I have been accused a time or two of being sensitive, and I won't apologize for that because God created me that way. He creates us all differently on purpose, for a purpose, and for His glory. But when we take everything as criticism, when we take everything personal, that's toxic. Stirring up drama. Do you have that friend that's just always stirring it up? Perhaps she's not really a good friend. Negative self-talk, people-pleasing. All right, raise your hand if you get that one, right? I like to say that I'm a recovering people-pleaser. I grew up in a really toxic home environment. Both of my parents were alcoholics. My mom drank to numb herself because the man she married wasn't the man she thought she married. And so I went into a mode where I was people pleasing. I was trying to take care of my mom and almost like protect her from my dad. But at the same time, my dad was very toxic. So it leaves you, especially as a child, it left me as a place like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to like try to keep the peace with everybody. And of course, then when that's happening in your childhood or in your home, it trickles into other areas of your life. So now that I've learned the importance of boundaries and that my needs matter, see, they didn't matter. I didn't have needs. Well, I had them, but I wasn't allowed to really have them, right? I was not your typical child. I was like an adult in a 12-year-old body in many ways. We begin to people please. And then when you learn the importance of you have needs and meeting your needs is not selfish, right? Remember when you are on a plane, an airplane, and they say to you in case of an emergency, if the oxygen mask dropped from the ceiling, do you put your oxygen mask on your companion, on your child, or you first? You put it on you, right? Because your needs matter, because you can't take care of that companion that's traveling with you if you're dead. Well, the same thing applies here. You may not be physically dead in some of these relationships, but you may be dead in every other sense of the word. So I would like for you to join with me and become a recovering people pleaser. Put your needs first. And I don't mean that in a selfish way, so please don't misunderstand. But you got to take care of you because you cannot pour from an empty vessel. Many of you ladies are tired and burdened and frustrated and lost and stuck, but you're doing life, right? You're checking all the boxes. You're taking care of your house, your family, the pet. You're taking care of everybody but you. And that's leaving you in a place of burnout. And let me tell you, that's where I truly come in as a coach. The book that I contributed to as an author, the name of my title is called Totem Poles. We use the word totem poles a lot of time, like when we talk about our priorities. Oh, that's high on the totem pole, right? You ever heard that phrase? Or maybe it's just a Southern thing. Maybe just me and Thelma Lou get that. But we use totem poles as a metaphor to talk about the importance of our priorities. And the reason why I named my chapter that is because I was not on the totem pole. Not only was I wasn't just low on the totem pole, I was nowhere to be found on the totem pole. So let's talk about perfectionism, right? That fits into that. It's got to be perfect, so I'm not going to do it. If it can't be perfect, I'm not going to dream big. Perfectionism is a form of fear, right? And fear will not serve you. Ignoring your grief, I could preach on that one all day long. Ignoring your grief or your needs or not taking care of you, unforgiveness, holding on to loss, resisting change. Listen, nobody likes change. Most of us don't, at least. But resisting it, digging your heels in, it's only going to make it worse. And passive aggressive behavior. So how do we handle unhealthy relationships? Well, here it comes, the B word. We all have strengths and weaknesses, hurts, baggage, and a level of unhealthy behaviors ourselves, right? And hurt people, right? But we don't have to do that. We can be aware of our weaknesses. We can be aware of our shortcomings. And we can hold ourselves accountable and ask people that we really trust to do the same. It starts with recognizing it. If with someone we talk to them, if we need help, we go to a coach, we go to a counselor. But the bottom line is we set boundaries. So let's talk about that. Boundaries, the big B word. Well, what are they? Are you feeling tired? Have you ever been in a place where you felt paralyzed, flooded? You couldn't move, you couldn't breathe. You kept saying, well, I'm going to pick my battles. But what that really meant was, I'm going to be a doormat. If somebody was mad or hurt in your presence, would you be a good girl and make it right and fix it for them? Then you really need to listen up. And listen, there's no judgment here, because everything I just described, I've been there. And it's not like I'm miraculously fixed or healed, right? Old habits die hard, so I still have to hold myself accountable. I still have to be doing the work to make me healthy so that me and my community can be as well. Nobody is immune to the need of setting boundaries. Boundaries are like a no trespassing sign. They set basic guidelines to the people in your life, whether it's, the people you barely know, like your neighbor, right? Or the people that you are very much in your circle. Okay? Think of it as, let's talk about a fence line, right? Maybe there is a fence between you and your neighbor. Okay, we have one, right? And they cross that fence. Your neighbors cross that fence and they come into your yard. They trespass without your permission. Is that your fault? No. But so many times when people cross our own personal boundaries, we blame us. And I want you to become free of that thinking. Think of boundaries as that no trespassing sign or that fence line. And when somebody violates your fence line, that's not your fault. Okay? Perhaps you could communicate your boundary a bit clearer, maybe, but they still cross the fence. So setting boundaries is self-preserving. It's keeping you healthy. It's keeping that relationship healthy. It's keeping your community healthy. Boundaries are basic guidelines that people create to establish how others are going to behave around them. I'm only going to allow you to behave this way with me. Some people will barricade right through your boundaries no matter how well you set them. My dad is a good example of that. I set the boundary, he barricades through it, right? And then I can become kind of flooded or paralyzed in that moment. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes when we talk about back pocket statements. Setting boundaries can ensure that relationships can be mutually respectful, appropriate and caring. They aren't rude. They are not rude. If you're setting your boundary with a family member, that's not being rude. If you're setting your boundary with whoever, right? And maybe that's just a Southern thing, but we were all raised to be nice and polite, but we were not raised to be doormats. It can be really hard to put into practice, and I hear that. So start setting your boundaries straight. Try these 4 things. Know your limits. Oh, I said 4. There's more than 4. Know your limits. Clearly define what your intellectual, emotional, physical, and spiritual boundaries are with strangers, colleagues, friends, family, intimate partner. Number 2, listen to your gut. You know what's okay and what's not. Lean into that. Listen, if you're a believer, listen to the Holy Spirit. Listen to what he's saying to you. Ask him, is this person healthy? Consider about the impact of your decisions. If you let this person barricade you, how's that going to affect you? So consider the impact of your decisions. Don't justify, don't explain, don't defend yourself. You do not have to prove or explain yourself to anyone. Be assertive. Now listen, being assertive is not the same thing as being aggressive. Being assertive is the polite thing to do, right? But it means I'm not making haste. This is firm. Like, this is not gray matter. This is black and white. Being aggressive is out of anger. No more people pleasing. It's hurting you. It's not serving you. Communicate what you will and won't tolerate. And practice makes perfect. If all else fails, delete and ignore. And we can do that on social media, but you can do that in real life too. Some boundaries are hard and some are fixed, right? Like a hard boundary, I just said the same thing. Some boundaries are hard and some boundaries are flexible. So hard boundaries is something that will not change no matter what. Like, I will not drive drunk. That is not negotiable. But a flexible boundary might be if you tell your teenage daughter you cannot go out on a school night, but she comes to you and she says, hey, after the pep rally today, my friends are going to go get, McDonald's. Can I go with them? And you can choose if you'd like to make an exception. Care enough about yourself to set boundaries. That's really what I want to get across to you. It's self-preserving, as I said, and it makes you a healthy person. You communicate self-respect by imposing these boundaries. We teach people how to treat us, right? We're training people, basically, when we're in relationship with them. We teach people how to treat us by showing them how we treat ourselves and what we will and won't allow. So we can set boundaries in every area, right? Personal space. Have you ever been at the grocery store and the lady behind you, she's wearing her mask, but she's right up on you? It's like, hey, lady, I'll tell you what, the one thing I love about all of this crazy Rona stuff is social distancing. And for some reason, it always happens in a grocery store. Like, back up. We can set boundaries in our sexual life, emotions, our thoughts, our stuff, our possessions, right? I always told my kids growing up, my office is my office. You may not go in there to get tape, scissors, whatever, right? Here's the junk drawer in the kitchen. Get it out of there. We can set boundaries in our time, energy, in our culture, in our ethics, in our religion. There's so many good results of setting boundaries. Better self-esteem, conserving your energy, better mental health, independence. Give us space to grow and be more vulnerable. That's what boundaries do for us. So here's something I hear a lot. But that's my mom. I can't set boundaries with her. Or that's my dad. And I want to say, want to make a bet? Just because you share DNA does not give them the right to be a toxic person in your life. Now, they may not always be a toxic person, right? They may shift into that whole Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde stuff, right? I can relate. I have a parent like that. And when it's good, it's good. But when it's bad, right? I used to have a friend like that. She was so much fun. When it was good, it was good. But when it was bad, it was bad. And I literally had to just walk away from that friendship. But maybe you will have a parent or a sibling that's like that. And you don't want to give up the relationship entirely. I understand that. I lost my mom almost 20 years ago. And I have my dad left, right? And so I say to myself, but he's the only parent I have. Okay, that's okay to keep him in your life. But you've got to set boundaries. And like I said, he can barricade, he can bulldoze right through them many times. But I have got stronger. God has refined me, and I have learned my limits. It's not always easy, right? Practice makes perfect, but I'm getting better at it. Sure, if it's a family member, that can complicate things, but it really shouldn't make a difference. Good boundaries strengthen a relationship. Boundaries aren't meant to punish or control people. Boundaries communicate our needs, our expectations. They're kind. They're not selfish. They tell others how you want to be treated, what you need, and what you expect. There's a great book. If this part resonates with you, I want to recommend a book to you. It's by Dr. Sherry Campbell. And the title is, this is literally the title, But It's Your Family. And the subtitle is Cutting Ties with Toxic Family Members and Loving Yourself in the Aftermath. Many times when we do the right thing and we set that boundary, what comes after it? The shame and the guilt. Oh, I just did this to my mom, my dad, my friend, my whatever, right? Shame, guilt, confusion, none of those things are good, and good things come from the Lord. So when you feel that cropping up, I want to encourage you to shake it off as much as you can, because, girlfriend, that is just the enemy trying to keep you in an unhealthy place. So what might boundaries sound like? Okay, so if you struggle with setting boundaries, what might they sound like? Here's some examples. And this is what I like to call those back pocket statements, or those back pocket phrases. You can use these, literally write them down. Like if you've got to set a boundary on a conversation or on a Zoom call or a meeting or whatever, and it's really hard for you, go ahead and write it out ahead of time, memorize it, and pretend like you're sticking it in the back pocket of your jeans, not the same pocket where your cell phone is, the other one. And get it out and use it. Okay, so here's some examples real quick. I'm not sure I can commit to that right now, but thank you for asking. Notice how I didn't say yes, right? That tends to be our go-to because we want to be polite. As much as I appreciate your invitation, I cannot make that work. If you cannot speak to me without raising your voice, then we need to push pause on this conversation. That's a good one. Make sure you write that one down. Just something as simple as, I do not like that. Let's try something different. That's setting a boundary, and you're saying, nope, we're not going there, right? So, real quick, how do you start today? You start by saying no. No is a complete sentence. If you are saying no to one thing, then you are saying yes to you. There's always a trade-off. So if you're not going to set the boundary and you say yes, and maybe you don't need to set the boundary because the answer is yes, right? You need to say yes in some circumstances. Then you need to know that you're saying no to something else, because you can't do it all. You weren't created to do it all. And until you can walk on water, it's not going to happen. So just know that whatever you say yes to, you're going to have to say no somewhere else. That's really crucial to the whole idea of being healthy and being in healthy relationships and having healthy community. You have to be willing to say no. And you don't have to prove it. You don't have to explain it. Start paying attention to your behavior, to the words you say, to others around you, how they act, how they treat you. I'm telling you, learning so much about boundaries the last 10, 15 years of my life, like it almost irks me when people don't have boundaries, like even a TV show. It'll drive me crazy watching it. I'm like, oh my gosh, set boundaries. Like, I love the show Good Girls. I don't know if anybody watches that, but they really struggle with setting some boundaries on there. And I'm like yelling, just say no, right? Like, So when you get good at this, you'll start to see it. You'll start to see holes in other places, even on TV and in the movies. Seek help. Definitely seek help. As a coach, I am a leadership and life coach. And when people come to me and they say, I'll ask them, do you need life coaching or business coaching? 9 times out of 10, they'll say business coaching. And 10 times out of 10, the business coaching they think they need boils down to boundaries, boils down to a lack of boundaries. They're living in chaos. They're burning their candle at both ends. They're burnt out, and they don't know why, but they're trying to promote, right? And it's because they're not setting boundaries. They're trying to do it all. Remember, you don't have to prove your yes or your no. And being nice out of fear doesn't work. Remember, I talked about perfectionism. That's fear. People pleasing. That's fear. You're pleasing them in hopes that they won't reject you or hurt you or whatever the case is. So many things that we do boils down to fear. Insecurity. That's fear. Fear of what will people think. Fear of how people will judge me if I say yes, no, whatever. You cannot take responsibility for other people. You just can't. It could be your identical twin sister. You still can't take responsibility for her. You cannot control their reaction either. If you're setting healthy, kind boundaries with respect, and somebody flies off, at you, they pop off at the mouth because they don't like your boundary, that's not on you. Don't start backing up, and don't start changing your mind because of their reaction, because you cannot be responsible for their reaction. Do it with kindness, do it with respect, but do it. Boundaries are crucial, my friend. I can't even tell you how crucial they are. So I want to recommend a devotion to you if you struggle with boundaries and healthy relationships. I want to mention this book to you, I Do Boundaries. It's by Haliva, I'm not sure how you say her first name, Cunnington. This is a devotion, and it's fantastic. Really simple to do. It's short, but girlfriends, it packs a punch. And it talks about, let me just read off the table of contents for you. Week 1, why am I so tired? What's the big deal about boundaries? Does God have boundaries too? Well, of course he does. On the 7th day, he rested. That's a boundary. All these other days, he did stuff, right? And on the 7th day, he rested. Am I acting like a spiritual grown-up? Am I doing too much for too many people? Week 2 is, how do I keep the good in and the bad out? What should I be focusing on? Am I dead on the inside? Why is everything I'm doing not working? Because you're trying to do everything. And maybe you're not called to do those things. And why am I feeling this way? And then week 3 is, why am I thinking about this? Why am I doing this again? How do I tell people what I need? How do I make good friends? And how do I protect what's important to me? The author of this book was raised in a family that was in ministry. And now she herself is grown, married, has kids, and they are also in ministry. And yet she has struggled with people pleasing and setting boundaries her whole life. No one is immune. No one. This is something that we have to sharpen often. When you use a knife time and time and time again, it becomes dull. You have to sharpen the knife. So let's spend time sharpening you, sharpening your boundaries, sharpening your relationships. I want to encourage you to use a journal and just jot down sort of some of the people, places, and things, circumstances that come to your mind that you believe may be toxic. And run them through the filter of some of the things we've talked about this morning. And if they're toxic, do something about it. You're going to do something about it because you value you, because you are worthy. The Bible says that you are more valuable than rubies. You are important. You're important to this world. You're important to your family. You're important to your workplace, your children, your community, your friends. You're important. So take care of you, because girlfriend, people need you. They need you. They need the gifts, the talents, the skills. They need your smile. They need your listening ear. People need you. So take care of you so you can serve people the best way you can. Say yes to what needs a yes, and say no to what needs a no, and stick to it. And if you mess up, that's okay. There's always grace. So that concludes my portion this morning. I sure hope it was a blessing to you. Give me a shout out in the comments, and when we're finished, I'll go and take a look at them and also gather all the names so I can see who the winners are. And I would love to hear what's moving you. I would love to hear your takeaway. I would love to hear if you are now, from this day forth, going to be a recovering people pleaser. I want to hear what resonated with you. Maybe there's a relationship in your life and you say, Cricket, I need your help. I need some coaching on how to identify what's draining me. I'm tired all the time. The things I'm doing aren't working. I feel lost, stuck. And maybe you want to reach out to me. Maybe you want to connect. Remember, as ticket holders, you get a percentage off of all the coaches' wellness packages. So let's talk. Let's talk. I'm going to share with you my information. Again, my website's cricketcrockett.com. You can find me, my business page, and I'll put it in the group. I would love for you to like and follow me on Facebook as well as Instagram. I'm also just starting out on TikTok, thanks to my 19-year-old daughter. We've had some fun doing that, so come follow me on TikTok. There's not a whole lot there, but I tell you, nothing will make you feel more old than technology. But find me, let's connect. And if maybe you don't need coaching, but you just want to read good content, I work hard to bring you good content. And in fact, many times I've posted about boundaries. Many times I post about self-care, taking care of your needs, pushing pause. Pushing pause is not so much about the amount of time that you're in the pause. And it's not about stopping the momentum. It's about taking a lull. And remember, I said on the seventh day, even God rested. Jesus says, come to me, all those who are weary and burdened. He wants to carry your burden. You are not meant to feel tired, exhausted, frustrated, on a hamster wheel, feeling like you lack purpose. Those are lies. You are wonderful, wonderfully and beautifully made, in fact, in His image. And maybe you're thinking, you know what, I'm not a Christian, so that would feel uncomfortable for me to coach with you. That's okay. I don't advertise myself as a Christian coach. I am a coach who is a Christian. So if you don't want to talk about that part of it, that's okay, but we can still talk about you. So check me out, follow me, like, share, tell your friends, and remember, you get a healthy percentage off my wellness packages. So if you'd like to talk, let's do that. I'm here for you. All right, ladies, have a wonderful morning, rest of your morning. I'm going to have to go put this in the microwave, and I will see you at 1 o'clock. It's going to be good. And so let me just share this with you. So you can see the prizes. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here this morning. Check out these prizes from our incredible vendors and sponsors, and please go to their links and shop. Let's support them. Let's say thank you for being here. They've done an amazing job. These are the prizes that the people will be winning. It's amazing. It's amazing. They're so good. So I'm going to go full screen, and I'll see you this afternoon.